Hello everyone, welcome back to another edition of my videos, and today we're going to be looking at part 5 of our opening recommendations within the Schliemann defense. In this particular video we're going to be focusing on White's fourth most popular move, and I would say in my opinion the most aggressive move that White can play here, and that is the move d4. I would say with this move, White is trying to, I guess, turn the tables on Black a little bit and say, hey, you know, I like that you want to be trying to go for the attack against me, but in actual fact, I'm going to be the one doing the attacking here. So immediately he's challenging Black's centre. He's not worried about this potential capture, which we will inevitably do in this position, and White launches a very complicated, very theory-driven position. The only thing I would say about this is, I think actually, if I'm being honest with you, although Black can go horribly wrong in this position, I think White needs to tread a little bit more carefully in this position, as there's lots of a little bit of counterplaying ideas that that Black can go for to try and save his position. So yeah, I think, as I say, you know, Black is most likely going to go ahead in material in most of these lines, but White will get quite a lot of compensation, quite a lot of attacking. So I would say in order to survive this particular line, you need to be good at finding the right defences as Black. And well, as I say, the lines are very sharp, so you just got to know them, unfortunately. So here, the thematic move, f takes on e4, makes the most sense. We're opening up the c file, we've captured one of White's central pawns, and we're also threatening this knight. And there's only two moves that make sense here. You know, bishop takes on c6, and also knight takes on e5. So let's explore both of these moves. So the most popular move is the knight capture, but what about this bishop capture and c6? And actually, you know, to be honest with you, this line I think is probably slightly more deadly than the other one. But I think Black can do well to, you know, I think equalise in this position. Although, with that said, this line has been played by some of the top players in the world. There's actually a game played by Judit Polgar back in 1997 events, Vasily Ivanchuk. Back, you know, it was ended in a draw, but you know, obviously a very, very complicated position between two super grandmasters at the time. It's also been played. This is a move that's been favoured by Nigel Short, who's in fact played this position twice in his career. One of them being a very nice win in 2015. But in any case, we will just, against this, we'll just capture d takes and c6. Again, it makes a move that makes more sense, as we're now getting our bishops ready to develop along these diagonals. Knight takes on e5. We now want to play our knight to f6, continuing with the thematic plan of developing our king side, getting our king castled, and then getting this rook onto this semi-open f file to start our attack. Knight to c3, so sort of continuing to put a bit of pressure on e4. Bishop to d6, and now developing, hitting the knights. Say a move like castles. Black would have to momentarily play the move bishop to f5 just to hold on to this pawn, as White has a nice threat with bishop to g5. Obviously, if this bishop didn't come here, you know, White would just have a simple threat of capturing, followed by taking this pawn. So now h6 can be played, and after this, bishop takes on f6, queen takes on f6. If the queen ever came to h4, we can actually, in fact, here play g6. You know, and although it looks quite a shaky position, in actual fact, Black's king is absolutely fine. He's going to be looking to potentially castle queenside, which I think, in my opinion, is probably a bit of a safer move to go to, and then start using his rooks on either these on these files here, or you know, along this f file to start creating some attacks along White's king. So, you know, example continuation: queen to f2. Bishop takes. You know, in this position here, I think Black is doing absolutely fine. He's got a central pawn that's, you know, well protected by a couple pieces, and he's going to be looking to castle either long or short and start you know, start creating some problems for black to have to deal with. Sorry, white to have to deal with. So going back, as I say, I don't think that line is that bad for black. I think he can kind of equalise relatively easily. The other move though is a bit more pugnacious, and there's quite a bit that you need to know in this position in order to survive. With that said, black scores incredibly well. 43% of his games have in fact been wins for black out of the 106 games that have been played from this position. So very sharp continuation. We've just got to know the next moves here. So knight takes on e5 is the key move. After d takes on e5, c6 has got to be played, and this is where white needs to be very, very careful. You can see here that already black is threatening ideas such as queen to a5, forking both the bishop and the king. If, let's say, you know, the bishop just came back kind of innocently over here, we can just win the bishop outright. Although, having said that, knight to c3, we just create a bit more pressure along here. After a couple of captures, then would capture back this, and I think you know, black is just winning. He's up material, so he's got to be a little bit worried about that. He's also got to be worried about his e5 pawn potentially falling once this bishop moves from this square. So the move that in fact sort of saves white a little bit is this, again, very, very crazy move, and sort of fitting for the spirit of the Schliemann, knight to c3. Yeah, you'd be quite surprised seeing this move, as well, the whole idea here, of course, is that after we capture on b5, look at this. It looks as though white is the one on the attack here, and although he's sacrificed a piece, black has got to know what he's doing in this position, as he's going to quickly come unstuck. You can already see some of the threats streaming in against the black king. So here the key move is d5. So d5, most play continuation. Black just gives up a second pawn. Remember, he is still a pawn up, just to slow down white's attack. So after e takes on d6 en passant, we now have the move knight to f6 developing, getting ready to potentially recapture this pawn. But also this move, to be honest with you, the main reason for this move is to stop these nasty checks from coming in potentially against our position. You know, if I let's say did something else, I don't know, let's say I played my bishop here, queen to h5 is just deadly. After d6 we just lose the rook straight away, so you can already see some of the problems. So we've got to defend the king's flank with this knight to f6 move. Bishop to g5, now hitting the knight again. He's got two pieces attacking him, but black has just got a very, very useful resource here, and that's the move queen to a5. Just in the nick of time, black defends his position. The point being here, this comes with a nasty check, and white has to just spend a move just to defend his position. If he plays the move c3 here, of course this then just loses the knight straight away. So you know, that's just a little trap that could happen. But knight to c3 just to get out of that potential threat. b4 can be played here, now re-attacking the knights, and after, well, you know, not just that, but also hitting this bishop as well. So just creating these little tactical defenses that I just think is really, really cool in this position. Bishop takes, g takes, knight to d5, trying to continue the attack. After which, funny enough, the database, there's been 4 games. The most popular has been b3, a very, very nice little check here. After c3, bishop to e6 has been played, which has led to these crazy looking positions. There's been actually one game where white just decided to capture this rook, and well, put it this way, it didn't end too well, as after he captured here, a takes, the queen came to d5. There was a few captures and other bits and bobs going on, but at the end of this continuation, essentially Black had got this bishop pair that actually is much stronger than it looks against this rook pair, but also he's got the rook as well, so so he was able to convert this position. But going back, let's have a look at the other continuation. I think actually bishop takes here is also absolutely fine. One of the nice things, I think this queen a5 move is so nice because it also vacates the square to d8 for the future. So it just does so many things in this position. It's a really good move to remember. But in this particular continuation, after the queen comes here, we can actually just scoot our king to d8. It's actually perfectly safe on this square. After castles, well, let's just say this position is incredibly double-edged. You can see here that black is temporarily actually up 2 pawns in this position, but his position is by no means safe. You can see here already white is potentially going to be dropping both his rooks onto these central files where he'll be starting some devastating attacks. But with that said, you can see here black has got his own tactical considerations in this position. He's already potentially threatening ideas such as bishop to e6, pinning this this knight to this queen and then re-attacking it on the next move. If black can just try and swap off pieces and survive the attack, he's going to have a much better endgame to play with in this position. So it's certainly a very interesting continuation after the d4 move, and certainly, you know, as long as you sort of remain tactically vigilant, you should do absolutely fine in this position. So going back, let's just have a quick run through the starting position once again. So key move after this, swap off the knights, c6. This does a lot of things. It starts creating these attacks. If white is pretty much forced to play this knight to c3 idea, just very quickly, the second most popular move is bishop to e2, but I think, again, to be totally honest with you, black does pretty much fine in this position, although there is some interesting things with this. So, you know, white can play for this gambit, but I think in actual fact, you know, black is doing absolutely fine. Queen to g5, just hitting this g2 pawn. Okay, there's some potential complications with this, but I think in actual fact black is doing fine. Develop, maybe play a move like d5 soon, just to activate his bishop, and I think his center is very intimidating to come up against. So, but in any case, knight to c3 gotta be played. This is a got to remember move. This is a got to remember move. Now white turns the tables. He's going to be starting to attack. d5 has got to be remembered. E takes and c6, d6. Then now we can finally try and defend our position. This knight move just comes in the nick of time. Bishop to g5. We're now re-attacking. We've got 2 pieces hitting, but a really nice resource. This check, it not only liberates the knight from this pin, but also now creates a new threat for white to have to contend with. White has to spend the move just to defend his position, after which b4. If there's bishop captures, we capture back, and after knight to d5, we can play captures here. And in actual fact, as I say, with this a5 idea, you know, although this queen can come into throw in this nice looking check, in actual fact after d8, you know, black's position is absolutely fine here, although he does need to be very aware of the defense he needs to pull off in this particular game. Alright, so that's the Schliemann attack, I think it's called, according to the database with this d4 idea. Very, very complicated line, but I think black should do absolutely fine and should be able to equalise in this particular position. So that brings us now to the final part, which we'll be covering in the next video, what to do against knight to c3, which is what they consider to be the best answer to the Schliemann defense. Hope you can join me in the last video, but thank you for getting this far. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, and to get any future alerts from my video, please make sure that you subscribe as well to the channel. Take care, bye.